Thank you very much and welcome. I want to thank all the participants for being a part of this my presentation, and thank you for the for everything. I want to thank Walden for the opportunity to present this my doctoral research to the participants. So to begin with my topic, the experiences of employees and job recognition in the East Coast casinos. Um, I was able to come up with this topic because I was an employee of the casinos years ago. In fact, I work in several casinos on the East Coast, as managers. So one of the things I used to hear from employees was that they were not being recognized enough for their hard work and for things that they for contributing the hard work, the hard efforts into the company. So and therefore, many of them told me they wanted to quit the casino business or go to another company. So when I was doing my doctoral dissertation, and I thought I said to myself, let me take an in-depth look of this topic to see what can be done. So I started researching. I found many studies done on employee recognitions, but there was nothing in terms of the East Coast casinos. So I concluded that there has to be a gap in the literature when it comes to the job recognition on the East Coast casinos. So that's exactly how I end up doing my dissertation on the experiences of employees' job recognitions in the East Coast casinos. Next slide, please. So to begin, we have to find the problem statement there must be a problem, and it has to be documented. And the data I found, the problem was that the social problem was that the deficiency in employee recognition leads to low job performance in the organizations. And the specific problem was that limited employee recognitions inhibit performance in the East Coast casinos, and that was documented by some experts in the field of recognitions. And so, to continue with once I was able to find the problem statement, I had to find, just like everything in life, I had to find find the purpose for my study. So the purpose of my research was, of course, to describe and explore the employees' lived experiences in the East Coast casinos. So just like there was a purpose, and also there was also the importance of my study, and that's where the significance of my study came into play. So a few things that I found that my study was very significant because outcomes could help senior casino managers think strategically how to help had to promote better employee recognition programs to make that employees also to make employee encouragement level increase after they contribute their effort to the workplace. Also to make sure the trust is also increased in the employees when it comes to the workplace. And one of the most important thing as well is for job performance to increase. So that was the main significance of my study. So as I was following along my study, we had to use a theory, or in my case, it was a conceptual framework, and that's exactly what guided my study. That was the focal point and that really surrounds my study. So the conceptual framework of my study was based upon upon the concept of Bandura 1986 social cognitive theory, and Salentic and Pfeiffer 1978 social processing theory, as summarized by Montani et al. 2017, which those authors saw summarized as the concept of employee recognitions and meaningfulness. We view the reinforcement theory as being promoted by managers and co-workers. So the whole point is those authors, Montani et al. 2017, view the concept of Bandura 1986 social cognitive theory, and Salentic Pfeiffer in 1970 social processing theory as a means to promote recognitions, and so when that's done by the managers and employees kind of recognize each other, that becomes very significant and meaningful to the employees, and therefore employees were able to have a better sense of belonging to the company, to their companies, and their performance increase. So next slide, please. Okay, so the relevant scholarships came from the second chapter of my dissertation, which is the literature review, and that chapter is that part of my study itself was about 30 to 40 pages, but I found a very few. Of course, that section is very the slide is very limited, so I had to find one that stood out, the very few that stood out to include in that presentations. So to me, the ones that stood out was the study of Sousa Sarif 2009, which found that the practice of successful employee recognitions and appreciation were the origins of warmth among managers with employees and employees with peers. Again, that goes back to the conceptual framework of my study, which touches how when employees recognize each other, and when managers recognize employees, how they become and they feel more meaningful in the organizations, and they become top performers. Again, as you can see, another data from Fiducia 2019, which postulated that employee recognition is the most crucial and considerable factor that increases job performance. In fact, according to those aspects, there is no organizations can succeed without successful employee recognition programs as part of the platforms. And in fact, there was another data from Carroll 2017, who found that lack of employee recognitions is one of the reasons that led to top performing employees resignations. So next slide, please. So to get the data and to get more of an in-depth analysis or the thoughts from the participants of the study, or to do the study effectively, of course, I had to get one key research questions, which really was which really guided the study. Basically, that's exactly how I was able to collect data. So the main question was, how do employees describe their lived experiences regarding job recognitions in casinos on the East Coast? So to do that, to get the answers to those questions, we had to go through procedures. And of course, my study was a qualitative phenomenological study to explore the lived experiences of employees of casinos in the East Coast. The study was conducted through telephone interviews using purposeful sampling. There were 23 participants who were referred to me for the study, but only 17 of them were chosen to participate after 3 rounds of qualification screening requirements. There were 4 criteria required to participate in the study. The first one was they had to consent to the study and be recorded. The second one was that all the participants had to be a current employee of the East Coast casinos for at least 6 months. And the third one was that they had to be adults, so at least 18 years of age. And the last one, they had to be able to speak English fluently. So after the procedure, of course, we get to the participants. And the participants of the study, they were categorized as 8 males and 9 females. They were broken down as 2 male dealers, 2 female dealers, 1 female case cashier, I believe, case cashier manager, actually, 2 female capital servers, 1 male bartender, 2 female dishwashers, 2 male dishwashers, 1 male cook, 1 female housekeeper, and 1 male receiving clerk, 1 male room service attendant, whom we call a boss person, and 1 female public area attendant. So these are the people whom I was able to select, and 17 of them I was able to select to complete the study. And after the interviews were done, of course, the interviews had to be analyzed. So for me to analyze it, an interviews as data, I used a software called Marcellus, and that was kind of new to me because I never used any software before, or any software at all when it comes to research. So I had to hire someone to, in fact, a gentleman from another country who was an expert, was a methodologist, was an expert in data in this kind of the software. He trained me, and so I used that data to analyze the data, and it was very user friendly. It was very quick and easy to use. So the telephone interviews responses were coded through the software. I used that data because it made the analysis quicker and much faster, and by categorizing and coding the data. And next slide, please. So the findings of the study, and that's the key important thing. So after I was able to analyze data, Of course, the findings was a mixed result, because out of 17 participants, I believe 9 of them believed they were properly recognized, they were happy, and 8 of them felt otherwise. So for those who felt that they have not obtained adequate satisfaction for their hard work, they believe that in fact, many participants in the study felt that they have not obtained adequate satisfaction for their hard work. Some felt otherwise. The participants who believe that they have not obtained adequate recognitions were unhappy and unsatisfied with their employer. Further, by and large, they were unwilling to perform at the highest level, and they did not have a long-term vision with the employer. But on the other hand, those who felt that they had obtained great recognitions for their hard work were very happy and satisfied with their employer, and they were willing to perform at the highest level, and they had a long-term of employment vision with their employer. So next slide, please. So after we found it, after the findings, after we found what the perspectives, what the views of the participants were through this phenomenological study, we had to interpret the data. So upon interpreting the data I realized that there was the findings I found were consistent, were consistent with the findings I found in chapter 2, which is the literature review sections of the study. So it's just a sample of it. As you can see, many of the findings were consistent with the findings that I identified in the literature sections of these doctoral dissertations. One good example is the data of Okoth and Flora 2019 in the literature review sections, which indicated that the employee recognition, job satisfaction, job salaries, and benefit training and job security and development are the factors that affect employees' motivations. One of the participants of my study, which was participant number 1, who said the following: it makes me feel very happy and satisfied because I have been recognized by my supervisors. I am very joyful each time I enter the building of my employer because of how I have been recognized. So I saw a link and a correlation among the findings of the aspects that were elaborated upon in chapter 2 of my dissertations, or what we call a literature review, and the findings I found from actually doing the research and interviewing the participants of my study. And as we're moving along to the limitation sections, as you can see, as you can imagine, any study has some limitations, and especially this one was, because one of the main reasons it was limited is because the study was being made for the East Coast casinos. So I could not go to the West Coast, so for instance, to Las Vegas to interview to recruit participants for the study or to interview them, because the study was being made on the East Coast. So therefore, that made the study limited in that sense. Another limitation was that some of the participants did not meet all the requirement standards to be interviewed for the study. For instance, as mentioned earlier, 23 people were referred to me for the study, but only 17 of them were qualified because some of them were underage. A few of them were underage. Some of them were not employed at the East Coast casinos long enough, and there were some other issues. So there were some of them who did not speak English either. So therefore, in that sense, the study was quite limited to who could participate in it. So based on the fact what I was able to find in the study, I was able to recommend to be my own recommendation. So my recommendation was that for better practice of recognition, there should be a robust and thorough recognition programs, and to ensure that the recognition programs are implemented and put in place. And so there should be policies to make sure that recognition programs are implemented and put in place to make sure that those casinos have adequately promoted the recognitions in a way that satisfies employees. And as a Walden PhD graduate, and as well as a Master of Philosophy graduate, two degrees from Walden, I'm very familiar with the social change thing, because I've been hearing that I heard that for many years. And so for us, and that was important for us. The important thing for us when it comes to social change was that the study that I did and the results I found, hopefully, I came up with some ideas that could eventually help the surrounding areas of the casinos and the casino itself. So, for instance, one of my ideas was to improve management training on recognitions, to update training on recognitions, to improve and promote recognition programs in the East Coast casinos, and to update policies, procedures on recognition more regularly, and in terms to just to promote better social change within the East Coast casinos in surrounding areas. So there was a need to increase awareness for superior of employee recognitions in these East Coast casinos. So I believe that those proposals should be evaluated as well. They should be analyzed and evaluated, and for effectiveness in order to promote better positive social change. The next slide, please. And I believe the next slide, that's almost the end. So my final remarks for my study is that effective employee recognition is a duty for all casino leaders to promote, not only in the East Coast casinos, but in all forms of organizations. And based on the studies I found, on the findings of my study, actually, all employees need to be recognized somehow, and in order for them to be top performers. Otherwise, there is a high chance for businesses to fail if they have not received, if their employees have not received proper employee recognition. So this is basically the end of my presentations, and I'll be open to questions, and I guess questions or remarks or comments at this point. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing your presentation and your fascinating research with us. We have time for some questions, so feel free to either post your questions and comments in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and share your video if you would like to ask questions of our presenter. And I'll just watch in the chat here. Maybe give everyone just a few minutes to formulate their questions. I have a question for you. Can you tell us about something that you learned through the process that surprised you? Something that you didn't expect? Was there something that stood out as a complete surprise to you?
Yeah, what was quite surprising is the fact that one of the participants told me how she felt so miserable on the job because she never received she didn't feel like she received any recognition for her hard work. So she kind of felt depressed somehow. And to me, that was shocking. I didn't think lack of employee recognition could go this far to an employee. On the other hand, I was also even more bemused to see how like one of the participants felt that she felt that her employer was a part of her because of how she has been recognized by her supervisors. She loved the job. She felt like the job is like a home to a certain extent. So yeah, those two were a bit surprising to me. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised, but I was quite shocked to find that. Yes.
Yeah, it sounds like there was quite diverse responses based on individual situations in their workplace among your participants.
Sure.
Another question comes to mind. As you've gone through this process and it's now completed, if you had to do it over again, what would you do differently next time?
If I had to do it different again, I think I would want although I think it may be unrealistic to say that, but I think I would probably want to do a quantitative study to get a better idea of all casinos in the United States, and for that matter. But again, I think that can be unrealistic because it will take more time, and that would be hard things to complete. It will be very, very expensive to do that. But that's one thing I wish, if I could, I would love to be able to have the opportunity to have a study like this done in all the casinos to see what the perspectives of all the employees in the casinos, of all the casinos in the country are.
Sure, and that could be an opportunity for follow-up study too, if you're so interested, or if another another Walden colleague is interested in pursuing a different component of this type of topic.
Absolutely.
As we know that there are a lot of Walden students attending this symposium today, and individuals who are interested in pursuing a doctoral degree at Walden, what advice would you give to students who are approaching this phase within their program and getting ready to conduct their research?
Yeah, some of the advice I would say, some of the advices I would recommend is to stay close with your chair, your committee, and stay diligent and stay on track. Be proactive on everything that needs to be done, because this is a lengthy process. It can be stressful. It can be overwhelming. And another very important factor is to be organized even in your mentally, to know to have a goal on every week. Just say, if the term begins in November, during the first 2 weeks of the term, here's what I will achieve. To have a concrete goal of what you will achieve during the first 2 weeks to complete your dissertation. Yeah, so that's one of the things, and don't give up, because it can be very you might want to give up, because I remember, even for myself, when I was doing my even before the proposal, the prospectus, it took me about 4 times to get it right before I was able to move on to the proposal phase. But the thing is, when I was doing that, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. Even though I was being rejected, I continued doing I already started my proposal, even though I was working on my prospectus, even though it wasn't approved. So by the time it was approved, I was almost ready to go to the IRB section. So, and it wasn't long to get my proposal approved after I get my prospectus. So stay on time, and it's not, especially if stay focused. If you have passion, I'm sure if you get to this point, you are passionate about studies. If you have passion, and so have a clear goal of what you want to achieve, and set those goals, trying to achieve them during this week, to do whatever it takes for you to do that. Yeah,
that's excellent advice. And once again, we want to say thank you. We really appreciate you sharing your experiences and your research with us today. It's been truly enlightening.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I missed that part.
It's been very enlightening.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.